love the Sisters of Battle. They are one of the coolest armies in Warhammer 40k. They only came back to us in plastic form in 2019, but I had started playing them all the way back in 2004, back when they were made of metal and very, very awkward to build. Since I first started in Warhammer, I've always had a soft spot for this little old army. Plus, they recently got massively buffed in their latest codex, and the thought of actually being able to win a game of Warhammer 40k has me pretty excited. So that's all the encouragement I need to dust off my sister's army and get back to battle. Just one problem though. One of the strongest units in their army right now, an almost mandatory unit in fact, is the Sisters Novitiates. These are young recruits who act like scouts and cannon fodder for the rest of the Sisters of Battle forces, hoping to prove their mettle on the field. And the lore of this unit is represented in the actual game of Warhammer 40k by them having the infiltrate rule. This allows them to deploy further out on the board, ready to eagerly seize objectives early and screen for more important units like our Triumph of St. Catherine or really anyone else. Yep, their job is to die, but they do it well, and I'm gonna be honest, that sounds really useful to have in my army. But also, big problem, I kinda hate the model kit, and I really don't want to buy it. But I keep coming back to the fact that the unit is still really good, and I want one. So, that means one thing, I'm gonna have to kitbash my very own models to replace it. And if I'm going to do that, well, I mean, I may as well make that model something a lot cooler than just Sisters of Battle in training. So I've decided I'm gonna make some count-size Sisters Novitiates in the form of the Fraterris Militia. And so I picked up these kits to help me do so. Why'd I do that? First, we have the Flagellants kit from Games Workshop. I know it's generic art, you're just gonna have to trust me on this one. These are a really important part of this kit bash because the Fraterris Militia, just like the Sisters of Battle, are deeply connected to the Ecclesiarchy, aka the Church of the Imperium of Man. And as a result, that can mean only one thing: religious zealotry. But unlike the Sisters of Battle, who are zealots in their own right, the Fraterris Militia don't have any power armor or bolters or even any training. Their force consists of vagrants, workers, citizens, the teeming mass of the Imperium, those who are inspired by the frothing at the mouth priests to take up their own weapons, dress in their finest rags, and hop on the nearest bus straight to the front line alongside hundreds of thousands of their fellow faithful. They are the peasant crusade made manifest, and they often fight alongside the Sisters of Battle for a short period of time before they all die. So the Flagellant kit for Warhammer Fantasy, yeah, that kit's gonna be perfect for bodies and religious iconography and just helping make these guys look that little bit crazier. But the Flagellant kit is just the sweet tasty jam we got going on, because for the foundation of these models, I'm gonna use the fantastic Frostgrave Cultist kit from North Star Miniatures. That's our bread, but it's really hard bread. Yeah, like that kind of bread. That will be the foundation for most of the bodies. And there's a lot of great choice here. I'm gonna begin snipping off the bodies. They're all one piece, so this is pretty easy. And they look a lot like medieval peasant garb, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Next up, we're gonna scout for some good heads. A varied selection of extremely unhinged faces is going to make or break this project. And I have to say, I think it's just been made. Some of these cultist heads are absolutely perfect. I'm pretty sure this one is even based on some Blanche artwork. Now, I'm only building and painting 10 models today, but overall I'm hoping to get like 20 to 30 models out of these kits, saving myself around £20. And also, I'm hoping that they'll come out looking a lot better than two Sisters Novitiates kits, at least when they're stood beside each other. See, the Sisters Novitiates were originally designed as a kill team, and that means that the entire model kit is monopose, and monopose equals one way to build. And that's a problem because here's what one monopose squad of Sisters Novitiates looks like, and here's what two monopose squads of Sisters Novitiates looks like. Yeah, no thanks. Plus, I'm having way more fun kit bashing these. In the immortal words of Turnip Max, assembling modern Games Workshop kits sometimes feels like assembling someone else's shattered models. In this case, I'm assembling models to later on be shattered. And it's a blast, I gotta say. And I knew this day would come. As poorly armed as the Frateris Militia are, they're still armed. I'm gonna need to give them some weapons. Now, in Warhammer 40k, the Sisters Novitiates have the option to either wield an auto gun or a sword and pistol. And today I'm gonna go with the auto guns. And that's where I first hit a snag, because I'm gonna need some guns. I'm not gonna find that in either the Frostgrave Cultist kit or the Flagellant kit. Those are both for fantasy games. Luckily though, I picked up the Stargrave Scavengers model kit too, and these come with a whole ton of different guns and pistols. And these are also from North Star Miniatures, and they're actually designed to be kitbashable with the Frostgrave kit, so these are all gonna slot together really nicely and be very, very easy to build together. And some of the heads and bodies on this sprue are actually really useful too. Looks like some mutants have got themselves into the Crusade. I'm a big fan of that, so I'm probably gonna use some of those. Plus, these backpacks look great as well. Some of these people are gonna be carrying their entire lives with them, as short as it is. And honestly, a lot of these are fitting together perfectly. They're so easy to build together. It's kind of amazing. And as they build them, the imagery is crystallizing together. The goal here is to give these guys a blend of both sci-fi and fantasy, perfect for the Warhammer 40k setting. So I'm taking bits and pieces from the Stargrave Scavengers set and adding it to some of the more fantastical looking miniatures. And then I'm taking bits from the Flagellant and Frostgrave Cultist sprue and adding it to the more sci-fi looking miniatures. That way, we're gonna get ourselves a perfect mix-up, which is exactly what Warhammer 40k is. The sci-fi future in a dark age. Now these are looking really good right now, but they're missing something. Because one of the reasons that I love the Sisters of Battle army so much is that they drip with malicious zeal from every pore. Righteous indignation is their keyword, and they ooze burly concealed papistry. Is there any other army who will purposefully take an organ into battle simply so they can play hymns and prayers while also destroying their enemies? Or who else would purposefully strap penitents to the front of their war machines simply as punishment? I mean, even their most basic units come equipped with flying lobotomized babies, which admittedly is kind of weird, but also sort of metal.
Pretty metal.
My point is, Sisters of Battle carry open flames on their back just because it looks cool. And the rule of cool rules and is cool. So I'm going to apply that same attitude to my Frateris Militia and try to get really weird with it. The Flagellant kit is going to be especially useful for this. I'm going through the Flagellant sprues here looking for anything particularly odd just to add a little bit of that Warhammer flavor. Luckily, I've been able to use some of the Flagellant bodies because the auto guns from the Stargrave kit actually fit onto here pretty perfectly. These are looking great. Now, I have one real option for the Novitiates unit, and that's whether or not to include flamers. And I want to include flamethrowers. I mean, whoever said no to some fire, right? I want the state of California to know that I'm not engaged in arson anymore. Now, there's no flamethrowers on any of these kits, so I'm gonna have to take some flamers from my bits box. They'll do nicely. Though if I was in a pinch, these torches from the Flagellant kit would be pretty good as a counts as. Now, last up is the Sisters Novitiates Sister Superior model. She's kind of in charge of all the riffraff here. In this case, we're gonna make ourselves a Brother Broperior. Sister Superiors are traditionally armed with a power weapon and pistol, so I think I'm gonna give my guy a power flail and one of the crazier heads from the Flagellant sprue. Gonna stick that onto a more upright scavenger body, and a holster pistol from the scavenger sprue onto their belt will do. And now the models are pretty much built. I just need to get them painted. I'm gonna do a quick paint job using Slap Chop to get them in the same color scheme as the rest of my Sisters of Battle army. A simple dry brush followed by Black Templar contrast and Leviathan purple, the color of the Ecclesiarchy, at least in my version of Warhammer, plus some Blood Angel red for a dash of color onto these guys. Then a few hours of painting, adding on some gold detailing and plenty of wash and typhus corrosion to get them looking particularly grimy. Grime. Then I'm gonna finish up with some basic material and a little splash of extra blood for all those bloodheads out there. That'll represent all the open wounds these guys probably have. And bam! Now they're ready to join my crusade, dedicated to the patron saint of battle, Saint Slaughter. Personally, I think these look so much better than the Sisters Novitiates models. In my opinion, Novitiates look too modern, too practical, too sensible for the Sisters of Battle. They look more like Bretonians, or as if Mother Teresa took up a mace. To put it bluntly, they look like really boring battle sisters. They're probably my least favorite unit in the entire Sisters of Battle army, maybe even in all of Warhammer. I really do think they're the worst. I'd rather my frontline cannon fodder really look the part, and to be honest, these really do. These look like a peasant crusade ready to march forth into gunfire and die almost immediately in service of the Emperor. Mwah! Perfecto. Overall, this Kitbash cost me around £60 at recommended retail price, or $75, which is a lot cheaper than 2 boxes of Novitiates. But here's the wildest part. I used just 1 sprue from each box. There's 3 more sprues from each of these boxes, virgin, unclaimed territory ready to be chosen. I can easily get 20, 30 more models out of this single £60 purchase. Hell, I could probably make all the special weapons in the Kill Team Novitiate set out of these too. Just supplementing some whips for fleals and a big mace for a big mace. This really does all go together perfectly. So this is your reminder. Kit bashing kits can be a ton of fun. Warhammer doesn't exist in a vacuum. There's a wider wargame hobby out there with tons of more affordable models, many of which are really fun to build and experiment with. That's the hobby, right? Even if you're just playing Warhammer 40k, you can go outside the reservation. These are going to slot in perfectly with my Sisters of Battle army, and personally, I can't wait for them all to die and ascend to heaven. I mean, probably heaven. Their souls go somewhere. Maybe just the warp or eaten by a demon? I don't know. If you like this video, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/discoursminiatures. YouTube keeps demonetizing me and my videos for some reason, so I really rely on your support to keep going. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a little like, a sub, or a comment, just so I know if this is the kind of content that you'd like to see more of. And as always, thank you so much to my patrons, especially Crypto Kev, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye.